I'm lacking a cup of tea, but I have thoughts whirring. Can we talk just for a little while about mutism? And I'm specifically not going to qualify it with selective elective. I'm just going to talk about mutism, the inability to speak. So first of all, my work overlaps with my life. There's a saying, isn't there, that if you have a job that you love, you won't work a day in your life. That's rubbish. We work really hard. But there's no doubt that the work that I'm passionate about, I've been led to it by my life. And the two are really closely linked in a way that I think mostly I really love. So this is going to be a little bit about, it's quite a personal little video, and it's going to also overlap with the work that I do in supporting people with special educational needs and disabilities. We know that the biggest area of need, especially for young children, is in speech language, in communication and interaction. And the causes of that are incredibly varied. They might be stuttering, they might be because of hearing impairment, they may be because of social issues where for whatever reasons parents haven't been able to interact or support communication. Families for whom English is a second language is a huge difficulty. Having raised bilingual children, I know firsthand that can be really tricky. Autism comes into this as well. Physical disability, physical differences in the mouth, in the throat, all sorts of things. So it's huge. And then there's this little subsection of children who, for reasons we, I think, are beginning to understand better, but again, the reasons are varied, have periods of time or places where they can't speak. For a really long time, we called that elective mutism. There was an idea that children were choosing not to speak, for example, in school. I haven't heard that for a little while. I'm glad not to have heard that for a little while. What we talk about now is selective mutism, that in select spaces at selective times, a child becomes unable to speak. There's a specific reason I want to talk about this today, but just from a personal experience, I have, particularly my daughter, but all of my children to some extent. So we've had speech difficulties with the youngest, which were linked to delay in development. That was fine. We did really beautifully. We used pictures. We used sign language with my eldest, which was a phenomenally good funnel into speech. My daughter's the one who has experienced these bouts of inability to speak, a real block. And I learnt from her that it was not chosen. It was terrifying to her when she was little. It was very, very difficult to deal with. And we didn't have a clear cause. We didn't have a clear pathway to deal with it. We learnt to deal with it. We learnt to help, we learnt to accept it. That was the first thing, is just, she can't talk right now. Still happens. Less now, but it does still happen. We used text, if she could. With her, the pattern tended to be that when she would start off by becoming quite stuttery and her speech became disjointed. Eventually it would just go. She might be able to text using her phone. If things got worse, she wouldn't be able to do that anymore. Interestingly, before all communication disappeared, the last thing that she would be able to do is write in pencil, not pen on paper. And at that point, her handwriting was the neatest that it ever is. Sign of distress, interestingly, in her. And that's worth mentioning because we make assumptions so easily. So anyway, I've lived with this. We figured out, she found beautiful strategies, including AAC devices or apps. AAC stands for Alternative Augmentative Communication. There are lots of apps, some paid, some free, that allow you to set up a bank of phrases or words where you press the button and it speaks what you want it to. That can be really, really helpful. So that's my background, but why am I wanting to talk about mutism at the moment? I have had a tricky couple of months for all sorts of reasons that I can explain that, I'm dealing with. One of the things that I have noticed, which has been really disconcerting, for anybody who knows me, they will know, is that I have found myself with this block where I can't talk. Now, not many people are going to realize this because it's probably evident that I talk a lot. And in work, I'm fine. As soon as I'm in work mode, as soon as I'm in parent carer mode, I'm completely fine. The necessary communication is happening. I'm very pleased. However, what I have noticed is that there are a few people in my personal life whom I care about very much, with whom for the last few weeks I haven't been able to speak. I want to speak to them. There is a connection there. And it's as if somewhere in my chest, somewhere in my brain, I start and then the words get lost, they get blocked. And I've tried texting and I can't. If I push it, I can't even tell you what I'm thinking and what it is I want to say. Everything just goes blank. And I find it interesting that I can't choose the situations in which it's happening. I'm noticing that it's not happening with strangers. It's not happening with people I work with. It's not happening when I'm in a position that I need or I feel the need to look after people. But the minute that I can rest and relax a little bit, and that something's a bit personal and something's a bit vulnerable, it's completely blocked. Interesting. My silver lining is that it's giving me an additional understanding of how it feels when you want to communicate, but you actually honestly can't. And the only thing that I can say is, faced with this feeling and somebody who's asking to communicate with me, what comes out is I. It doesn't go further. It's I. The word is can't. I can't even tell you what I can't do. I just can't. So I wanted to share this, partly as a little reminder to me, partly because as somebody who does not have special educational needs, I was very, very fortunate in my education, and in my life has been absolutely fine. I also have the experience of working with a lot of children and families in this world of SEND. And here I am, perfectly functional, perfectly fine. But clearly something's going on in my life, and my brain and body are going, do you know what? In this field, we're just going to go, nope, you're not going to do this for a while. I have absolutely no doubt that it will sort itself out. And I'm taking it as a lesson in a little bit of self-awareness, reminding myself that I probably need to look into that self-care business again. Trying to use a little bit of creativity. I've started doing a little bit of painting that I probably won't share because they don't matter, they're not any good, but they are keeping my hands and fingers busy, and I hope allowing my brain to do processing whatever it is that it feels the need to process. I'm really lucky to be in the position that I am, to be able to notice this, to see how it's affecting me, to see that it affects me in a very, very small thing. It also allows me to, in speaking to teachers, caseworkers, therapists, parents, or indeed children, this is really real. It feels physical. And I know that if I try and push it, it gets worse. Now imagine a 6-year-old experiencing this, maybe for the first time. Can you imagine how utterly terrifying it must be to go and speak and nothing comes out? To then be probably lovingly, gently pushing it. What is it? Come on, speak up. That's going to increase that fear. There's going to be a level of frustration that's going to come out. But my feeling mostly is how utterly frightening. For that to be called elective or even selective, those words imply deliberacy, they imply control, they imply choice. And if those children are experiencing anything like my little glitch, there is no control, there is no choice. And to be told that you are making this choice when you're little, you're going to believe it. So not only are you stuck with this situation, but you are being told by the grown-ups who know better than you that you are making this happen. I don't like the roller coaster that leads to. I think we need to listen, we need to be careful of our little ones. Communication's tough as humans. We rely on speech really, really heavily. And speech doesn't come easily to a lot of children. Grown-ups aren't that great at it either, actually, in a lot of ways. So there we go, a little thought about mutism generally. How important speech is to communication, how difficult it can be, the fact that we don't actually properly understand what's what. And for those of you in my life whom I have neglected in my communication of late, I apologise for my distance. I apologise for my silence. I wish, at least as much as you, that it will come back. The sooner the better, because oh my giddy aunt, do I love talking, and I love talking to others. So this glitch thing is disconcerting and a little bit confusing, and I think needs to be treated with a little bit of care. So I am off to go and do some piano practice and to do a little bit of painting and to do that self-care thing. For any of you who experience this, I would love to know what your experience is, how you navigate it, how you convey it to others. And if you are working with a child who is struggling to speak at times, especially if they're typically quite articulate and chatterboxy, maybe give my thoughts a little bit of consideration. See, how could you give that child a little bit of time, a little bit of space, reassure them that it's okay, they don't actually have to say anything. Take care.